All right, everybody, welcome to the fifth episode of the JSR Dungeon Podcast.
Period.
Host Jeremy Sig, and here's
Charlie.
Woo!
Woo!
So currently, obviously, it's just the two of us. Ava will be
Yes.
joining us later. Unfortunately, we can only deal with Carson right now, so we're doing a little interview with him without Ava. Even though I would love to see the interaction between Carson and
I
Ava.
know. Like they said earlier this season, Carson was one of Ava's first allies ever. So they have a
Mhm.
really special bond.
Yeah, but a lot happens this episode, and we're gonna cover it more with Ava. But because we only have limited time with Carson and also Bill is joining
Mhm.
us shortly here. Probably Bill before Carson because Carson's not in the waiting room. But you know, should we just bring Bill in?
Let's bring Bill in. Episode 5.
All right.
Our poisoned victim. See here. Bill. Oh, it's taking so long.
Yeah.
Oh, there he goes.
You there,
Bill.
Bill?
Huh?
Are you here?
Bill.
Huh?
There he
Huh?
is,
Huh?
There
a
he
poison
goes. And the, oh
victim.
my God, all hats, all
Oh, we're all
Oh
wearing
hats.
hats.
shit. Yeah, I
Okay.
guess I'm
Wait, are you
here.
wearing a pink hat?
Yeah, of course.
That's like the mix of his hat and my hat.
Oh wow,
I
Bill.
came prepared for
Yeah.
once.
Well, Bill's
Bill, the son
notorious
of.
for pink hats. We should know this.
Hmm.
But obviously, Bill, you see here, we're not we don't have Emily, we don't have Ava. Carlos, I mean not Carlos. Carson should be joining the conversation in a couple minutes. We're just doing a quick kind of interview here. Um,
Myron said Bill's
Mhm.
showing up. Fuck that guy. I'm out of
yeah.
here.
Well, listen, let's just talk about it, Bill. You say you were a flop, but
Really?
I say you were robbed.
Right. I was gonna
I
say,
don't know why. I think you're a bit
I was gonna say
delusional.
this
Yeah.
too. Because I was gonna say my first question would be, like, what was like your overall like experience? Like, summarize the game like in your words, especially getting the chance to like watch it back. Um, I like because I feel like we both agree like you kind of were robbed. Like you kind of were like a really good character. Yeah, sure, you might not have been someone like leading the charge, but like you were a great faithful that like actually like made a difference in the game. So I feel like you didn't flop. But yeah,
Well,
that I feel like that would be my first question for you as well to kind of like piggyback on that. Like, why do you feel like
yeah.
you flopped?
So I consider myself a flop. I feel like my reads were piss poor this game. I looked at Keisha and said, I trust you. Like the Justice, I trust you. Carson, I'm always iffy on, but that's just bleeding in from Mafia and JSR Survivor. So I was like, I couldn't read him at all. I was like, he's always just chaotic. This is just how he is. And so I immediately start looking at Sky, who's was probably going to be my best friend in the game. Immediately getting her out. Who else? Baylor, I voted out, I think. Probably Alicia. I don't recall. But I just started targeting people I know and just for some reason completely overlooking the people who are, actually flying under the radar. And it came back to bite me. I did do what I could in challenges. I still flipped two names in the country flag game.
Well,
I did win a shield, right?
yeah, you did win a shield
For
in
nothing.
the jigsaw, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
But so let's go. We'll talk about the overall sense of the game in a little bit, but let's go back to that Sky vote. Sky was pretty devastated that you voted for her. She even gave you a big fuck you on her way out.
Yeah. Not
Like
my proudest moment.
I know
What
on
was the
her
thought process behind it?
well on her exit interview, she said that she was upset that Bill didn't know her well enough to be able to read her when she felt that you could. So let's hear your thought process. Yes.
Okay. I have autism. I can't read people for shit. Okay. So I walked into that game and said, all right, some of my best friends could very well be traitors. And I'm a very trusting guy. So I walked in there and just walked in there with a clean slate. And I said, all right, any one of these people could be bad. And I feel like Sky is very eloquent. And then when they suddenly said they were a traitor, I was
Mhm.
like, Really? I couldn't tell for sure, but I also didn't have anything else to really go off of. I didn't know some of the other people that their names were being thrown out, and I was looking at Sky, and I felt like they were just a bit, what's the word? Just jumpy almost. And I that's not
Erratic.
typically, yeah, that's not typically Sky. Sky is very patient, very calm in these games. But I've never seen him play a Traders game. And so when they had their name thrown on a bunch, they say that. I of course I'm like, something feels off. I may have to vote them out here.
Hmm.
And it wasn't a great moment. I wasn't proud of it, but I was confident in the moment. And of course, everything came crashing down immediately after with the fuck you. And I was like, all right, well,
Yeah.
I deserve it. I do. But
Well,
yeah.
even though outside of that, I still feel like, and I said this in the YouTube chat tonight, you were not being looked at by the faithfuls as a traitor, and you were not being looked at by the traitors as someone they wanted to kill. So I feel like you were positioned really well, even with some of your reads being off. People trusted you on both ends. People didn't want you to die. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, we have Carson who ended up poisoning you, but I don't think that was a targeted kill. His
Right.
his target was Nick. I think he just went for whoever would take the bait at that moment.
I should have picked up on that, by the way. I feel like looking back, I just completely overlooked that whole conversation because I thought about that exact quote as well, where he goes, "You know what they say," and I sat there and I went, "Expect the unexpected," because I was like, "Why the hell would you just?" I don't know if he was looking for a camera moment or something.
Right.
I just overlooked it, and I called out him and Javon, and just fucking I don't know. It was
Mhm.
dumb. It was dumb.
So, well, I have Carson in the waiting room wanting to join us now, but before I bring him in,
Yeah, let's bring
I,
him in.
I do want to ask you, Bill. Now,
Yes.
now that you know that Javen is a faithful, are you willing to be flannel buddies with him again?
Oh, easily. We talked after the game ended, and I apologized, and I was like, "Shit, I should have known." But of course, I have it. No, it's in the wash. It is in the
Oh,
wash. I
you
have a
gotta
flannel. Hold on.
gotta put the flannel back on. I'm gonna let Carson in
Oh,
while you're doing
flannel.
that.
Let's go. King, King, Carson,
There's a flannel. There's a flannel.
Carson,
There's a flannel. I haven't worn
Carson,
this one in a minute.
Carson, Carson.
Howdy.
And
Hello.
here's
Oh, geez, here
Carson,
he is.
our
There he
trader,
is.
our one and only trader. How you doing, Carson?
I'm good. Can y'all see me?
Yeah,
Yes.
Chaos
Oh, there
incarnate.
we go. Howdy. What have I missed?
Carson,
Um, we just talked about
Bill's time
like
of the
we
game.
asked Bill about his early like just like his overall summary and his like thoughts of like the game and like getting to watch it back. And then we just like talked a little bit about like his game moves so far.
Yeah.
But Carson, we have a lot to talk about with you.
With you especially.
Carson,
Okay.
you were a trader. You were a main character throughout all five of these episodes, and you put out a lot. You know, you got out
Yeah.
a lot of targets. You were directing a lot of these murders. So yeah, before we get to details, what's just your overall general thoughts of your experience in this game?
So first off, this is my first Traders game ever. So like a lot of the things that I was doing wrong, I like didn't know if that was right or wrong. Like I was like, fuck it. Let's just play. I'm just gonna play the game and try and win and lie and manipulate. So that's first off. Second off, I think I talk a lot. I don't know. Some might say I talk a good amount. I think I just like talking and trying to be heard, even if there's nothing to say. Especially in
Mhm.
games where I'm like a bad guy, I want to take control and feel like everyone think I'm the good guy. Um, but I think overall, I think like the kills that I made were smart because none of the kills got back to me. Like, I think most of the, getting Justice on board, I think Justice Keisha and me, like, that is a very trio that, like, I don't think anyone has caught out that trio just yet. So, um, I don't know. I feel like the traders up to this point are in a good spot. And now that I'm out, I don't know what's going to happen next. So
Mhm.
we'll see. But
So I'm gonna ask you a general question too. How do you feel you did as a trader?
As a trader, I could have done a lot better. I don't think I did terrible. I think people were too confused by my gameplay to make me a trader. Like say, oh yeah, he's a trader.
Yeah, if
So
you got the opportunity to play a game as a trader again, like what would be like the one thing you would do differently?
I kind of see the strategy behind this. Like before watching it back now, I still haven't watched the traders outside of this. Watching it back now, like Norris in this last episode, the way he like that last VR session he had, the way he explains like some of the strategy of like, oh, why would you do that? Now you're gonna get killed. Like those kind of schematics in the game, I didn't really look at. I was kind of just looking at each round as its own round, as instead of the game as a whole game. So I think
Mm,
I would look at I would look more long term than just short term for my kills. You know, if I was looking long term, I probably would have killed Norris off a little earlier. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, those kind of things.
Well, yeah, I do want to bring up the topic of past game bias because a lot of people have been bringing that up in reference to you specifically. I know
Yeah,
Will just brought it up before you got here. Alicia brought
thanks.
it up on the exit interview where people just don't know how to read you.
Yeah,
They don't know whether to take it as, a threat, if you're lying, or if it's just you being you. So,
yeah.
um, do you think there's ever a game where you will not be that way?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe on like a game if me and Mel were playing together, maybe then I wouldn't be so talkative because she would get mad at me. But other than that,
shout
like
out the
me playing
wife,
my
shout out the wife.
yeah, yep. But other than that, like me playing my game, like I'm gonna be the one that's I want to be the annoying one that everyone's like, okay, well, let's just set this guy to the side and hope he's nothing important. Um, but yeah, I think I play my game how I play my game.
So while we have both of you here, let's just talk about what happened in this episode. Carson, why why'd you do it to Bill? Why'd you do it to Bill?
So the funniest thing about it is I didn't like I like Bill. I don't Bill, did you have any suspicion of me being a traitor?
That was part of it. I couldn't like I was actually in that moment saying I trusted you, not because I did, but because I wanted you to trust me in that moment and let your
Yeah.
guard down. I wasn't sure on you, and I was trying to get closer to you in that moment, and you
Hmm.
just cut it short. I don't know if it
Yeah.
was intentional or not.
No, so that's my thing is like part of the game, I think also mixed with drinking and me just trying to have a good time. I was like, fuck it. Let's use this opportunity. I knew Javen wouldn't pick up onto it because Javen, like, I thought we had a close relationship. Javen would have thought about it. Keisha, or not Keisha, Justice was there. And who else was there? Who else was there? Who am I missing? Was it
Baylor was for a bit, and then Keisha was as well.
Baylor was there? I expected Baylor to go out. Or honestly, I didn't expect Baylor to go out. But I wanted Baylor to be pinned for the poison. That was my whole plan. Whenever I saw who the five of the group that group was, the whole plan of getting Nick out was out of mind, out of sight. And I was like, well, let me pin this on Baylor real quick. So, and not even thinking long term of the game, thinking like, okay, well, I can use this against him. I can use this against him.
Well, it was
But
funny. You still tried to kind of pin it on Baylor even when Baylor was out of the game. Bill
yeah,
came out for it right away.
yeah. No, I did. I did what I was like, no, it could have been Baylor, but he was faithful. So,
I think
um,
Javen actually responded with expect the unexpected after me as well.
Hmm.
So I think it was
yeah,
entirely possible that he could have gone ahead and said it before me, but
yeah.
it just it
I
was
think
stupid.
I think it could have killed a lot of people, but in that moment, I was like, "Fuck it, I get to get the poison kill. Like, let's do it."
I love how Justice didn't react whatsoever. They're like, "Oh, this is happening. I'm just gonna let it happen."
Well,
Yeah,
what was crazy is I think even in the traders talk, Justice was like, I didn't even realize it happened. It's like I
yeah,
don't. She was completely oblivious somehow to the actual task, so that was funny.
And
But
I don't even think because we didn't tell them what it was until the game was over. And everyone was like, we don't remember that happening.
yeah. So I don't know. I'm not too sure. I think when I was this is going to justice. I think whenever I was playing the game and while I was alive, I really thought Justice was like this mastermind. Like I don't know. Like I really believed in everything
I
she said.
I have some comments about that that we're definitely gonna get to, but I thank you because her edit to this episode was really good.
Yeah. Like I seriously thought she was a mastermind. Watching it back, I don't know if she was. I don't know if she was this big mastermind that I thought she was. Like I think she still played very smart, but to the knowledge or level that I thought she was at while I was alive, I was like, oh yeah, like they're gonna carry me to the end, and I'm just gonna talk my way out of everything. But yeah,
Justice was someone I came to trust. I felt like they presented themselves in a way that I just was like, oh, they're in the know. They know what they're doing here. And I didn't like pick up on that they could have just been manipulating me. Again, I trust too easily. These games aren't meant for me. But then I die, they're bad, and I'm sad. That's all I
yeah.
can say on it.
Bill, do you remember who you were sussing before you died?
It was Nick and Carson were the main two.
Oh, right. Okay.
I said a couple other names. I was like flip flopping throughout people because I just again it was my first Traders game as well. I had no idea where to even look. I had
Right.
never watched the show. I hosted Mafia, and so I was going off of Mafia rules, and I was like, "Oh, it's them. No, it can't be anymore. It's got to be them." And I settled on Nick early on just because I know Nick is just someone that everyone trusts inherently, I feel, in games.
Hmm.
And then he just plays himself off very well. Like in Survivor, I watched that happen. And then Carson again is just chaos incarnate. So I could not read him. And I swear to you, that little moment where he poisoned me was me trying to convince you that I trust you 100% and trying to get
Yeah.
closer to you to see what information I could get out of you.
Well, I wish I had the same intentions.
Me too, actually. Yeah, what the hell?
Well, Carson, let's talk about the beginning of your downfall. The beginning of your downfall, I think there's a couple things that maybe people could want to attribute to it, but I think really for me, it was, is this the trader's shot? Like,
Yeah. No, I think that might have had something to do with it.
Your
So
face when you went this trader's chat, and then you could see on your
I
face
kind of
that you realize what you did, and it's so funny. Like, what was your initial like reaction? Like, what feeling did you immediately feel?
so it like my heart dropped to my stomach because I was like, wait a second. First off, y'all did not give me, Keisha, or Justice any prior warning, like, hey, we have a trader chat. So when I looked at that chat, that was my first time looking at Discord because all my other messages had been on Zoom. So
right.
my first time opening up the Discord, I opened up the Discord and I saw traders. And I was like, oh, that's the chat that we're all in because we're playing traders. So
Why
I had
didn't you
no
make that argument?
because that wasn't a chat. Like there was no
Oh,
chat. Like
wait, because that wasn't a
yeah,
chat.
there was no chat
Wait,
that everyone
I
was in.
forgot.
So I was
Yeah,
just
no,
like,
I will give Carson credit to that. We did not sell the traders. There was a traders chat until Carson
no,
announced it.
like there was no messaging in that prior. Like there was nothing because none of us knew that was there. So whenever I looked at that, I immediately thought it was a chat for the traders game,
But
and I was like, oh,
That's
in this
funny.
traders chat, and then I saw people kind of get sus, and when people got sus, when I saw the reactions on the face, I was like, oh shit. That's when I kind of realized. Not even when I said it, because I thought it was everyone's chat.
it really it is so insane that nobody called it out that first round table when you said it.
Yeah. Uh, Luckily, I think that call out played to my stupidity of like, oh, that's Carson. He's just talking out of his ass. I was
Yeah,
like, yeah, sure, yeah, no, that is. I'm just talking.
that's exactly what Baylor said on his exit interview last podcast. He was like, I thought Carson was just like being goofy.
Yeah, yeah. He said I was mocking him, and I was like, I could have done that. I could have just played off as that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were a big reason that Baylor went home. You were calling him the cancer to the team, a bad faithful.
Yeah.
You was
How
talking
much,
shit.
how much of what you said in roundtables was actually your truth, and how much of it was actually just lying?
Um, I think it's probably a pretty 50-50 even split. I think as a trader, you're first off, you're gonna have to lie. I probably lied more than I told the truth. But
Oh,
like
you lied a lot.
like I will lie just to lie, especially in games like this. Like I will lie because first off, like I play Werewolf, I play Mafia, I play all those games, like board games, all the time, and I can manipulate Gaslight. Like it's terrible how good I am at doing it. So that's how I was kind of playing the game. Is like, oh, let me try and manipulate and gaslight every single person to think I'm like almighty savior. And then obviously I shot myself in the foot, but yeah, that was kind of my game plan. So
I'm gonna. Ava wants to join. She hasn't watched the full episode, so let's just get her live reaction to. I mean, she knows Bill was poisoned, but she does not know Carson was banished.
Should we just invite Murdered Oomph too?
Yeah.
Ava.
No,
Wait a
Ava.
I haven't
minute.
gotten that part of the episode yet. No,
Ava.
no, 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 no. Well, I knew it was gonna happen, but I didn't want
yeah,
it to.
Yeah,
yeah.
Wait,
we
my
wanted
two
to.
boys, my two boys in the same episode. No,
Did you
no,
see who was
Yeah.
murdered, Ava?
no. I'm literally on minute 27.
So you didn't see who was murdered in minute.
Want to see who was murdered on minute 5?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, I didn't actually.
Wait, who are your two boys?
You and Carson, hello?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I thought. I'm sorry, thinking of something else.
Wait, who was murdered? Hold on. Me totally skipping that.
It was Noel.
It's fucked up.
I love Noel. Damn.
Yeah, we're gonna invite Noel too. And just see if he can join now.
Noel's another one I can't read. I think I brought that up in one of my little moments, one-on-one with the camera, where he always puts on this face where he's like, "Oh God," ooh, like
Yeah.
everything, and I'm like, "What are you reacting to? I can't tell."
You called him the
Yeah.
boogeyman.
Yeah, I said he's reacting to the boogeyman. Shit,
But
it's like every game, and
yeah, no, Noel does have a good poker face, I feel like. He knows how to. Well, I don't know if it's poker face per se, but it's just like
it's just the same face that he puts on at everything, and
right.
so you can't tell what he's feeling at any given time.
Mhm.
It's very great, but also sucks when you're playing like strategic aspects and you don't know if he's lying to your face because he always just looks terrified.
Well, I also played a traders game with Noel, and it was me, him, and Josie in the final three, and we almost voted Noel out for the same reason because we couldn't read him. But we didn't, and we won, so it was okay. But Carson, I did want to ask you too. Let's talk about this roundtable that happened in this episode because you choked.
Yeah, so I think that has to do with my lack of trader knowledge and kind of not understanding the game in terms of fuck it, let me just call it Marissa. Like I don't know. I think I could have been a lot
Big
smarter.
mistake.
I could have been a lot smarter in who I called out. I think during the game I was pairing myself up with Nick to kind of if it came down, I wanted it to be one of us and try and throw it on Nick, but I folded in that moment. I think I also drank too much to try and play a strategic and smart game. Um, so I think that had something to do with it, but yeah, I think I choked.
Those beat
Norris
boxes are
also
kicking ass.
Norris like not Alicia, um, Justice. She protected Norris to keep him in, right? Yeah, if she wouldn't have done that and we would have killed Norris, like the game would have been different.
I have I feel like now I feel like is a good time because we're talking about roundtable.
Wait, can I just ask a super quick fill-in question since I haven't
Yes.
gotten to that part? Who was it, like unanimous on Carson, or what was the round
It
of
was
It was
more than
split.
three and then a couple strays.
between Carson and?
Zendaya.
Zendaya and Javen got into a really big argument.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It was 4 Carson, 3 Jendaya, 1 Nick, 1 Justice. Nick and Justice voted for each other.
And that random voting shit has got to stop.
It's also Justice. I remember I think I was DMing. I think we were actually maybe using the chat. And I was like, hey, everyone vote together right here. I need to stay alive. And Justice was like, nah. Like, thanks.
Well,
Yeah. So this episode, we really kind of see like this mafia boss character kind of like coming out of Justice almost. we see in the murder, she was like, no, like we're
No.
doing what I want.
Yeah.
It's what I want, and that's what's happening right now. And you guys were just like, okay, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so because I'm really excited to like see like kind of like that kind of like a confident power, kind of like
Yeah.
it's my way or it's not happening. But I feel like, and she's really like kind of taking that mafia boss character and really going for it because she then immediately goes into, I think, the breakout rooms and she's like, Nick, why the fuck did you vote for me? And she's like, now I'm against you because you're against me for no reason. Like, and nobody's paying attention to this. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, and then she doubles down on it in the round table.
Yeah.
And nobody is picking up on it. And so I'm just like, do you guys think that it's good strategy? Like, do you feel like there's like potential here? Like, is this a good way that she's hiding in the game? Because she's playing very outwardly right now. Like, she looks like a mafia boss. So
Yeah.
it's like, do you feel like that's a good look right now for her, or do you feel like it's not doing good for her?
For
Well,
me, oh,
now you go,
oh,
Carson.
for me, I think she is like so for her personal game, first off, the decision to cut me, like I now know that's a gameplay for traders is to cut other traders. Like post game, I learned that. Um, so like if she wanted to do that route, like boom, that was a perfect excuse for her to do that and not get blood on her games in that moment. So, also going back to the first part where you said like how she said that to our traders, whenever we first recruited her, I'm thinking that she's gonna do that same thing because I said all those things. I was like, she's gonna do that, but she's gonna do that at the round table. Like I had no idea she would do that to me and Keisha, but I liked it. Like I was like, hell yeah, rock on, sure. But I wish we would have got Norris out looking back on it. But yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that she's like the only person, like Carson, you did say you wanted to protect Nick in the traders talks, but she's going and she said, I don't want to get Jende out. I don't want to get Norris out. And then she's going to the round table. And if she had voted for Jendea with the other two traders, Carson would have been safe potentially. But she decided to go against that and let Carson go. So I think that's a very big and bold move to make. However, as I said throughout this whole entire podcast season, yes, having a point of contention is great. She did it with Noel and Bagelgate. We'll talk to Noel later about that. But to me, and Nick has caught on to it already. He saw it with Noel and Justice, and now he's seeing it happening to him. Justice is just picking a target and sticking with it.
Mm-hmm.
That is gonna like to me, that is an easy way to get caught. If
I
you're
just don't think that's ever like a faithful strategy. Like I don't ever think you see a faithful just latch onto one single target because it doesn't. The way she's approaching it isn't very collaborative. Like she's not. From what I've seen, never really was trying to get traction on Noelle and hasn't tried to get traction on Nick unless she's done that more in this episode that I just haven't seen yet. And so I think that's a very missed opportunity from the faithfuls to latch on to that strategy and just be like, why is she being so pointed? Why is she, because she's not trying to bring other people into it. She's doing it, I think, to save her own ass. And I feel like the faithfuls are just lacking that vision in seeing that. Because as a viewer standpoint, it's very, very obvious. Even though I know that it's a traitor, I just feel like it's not the best strategy to go about. But what I'm about to say is not a dig at you, Carson. You know how much I love you. I
No,
think what
that's fine.
Justice is doing is what Carson was trying to do. She's just doing it a lot better because she's still being outspoken. She's loud. She's like being very like, this is my opinion, and like you're not going to change that. And I think that's what Carson came in trying to do and did do, but I think it just caught up to him a little too fast. And so I
Yeah.
think Justice is about to pivot into a really interesting position without Carson's big personality to shield her because now she is arguably probably the loudest voice in the room when it comes to having opinions about the actual strategy of the game, in my opinion.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think she is doing my gameplay just better. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I would 100% agree with that based on this last episode
well,
and
and
even prior.
while we're talking about Justice's gameplay, we'll bring it back to Bagel Gates. We have Noel here. Noel.
Yes.
No way.
Well,
Yes.
welcome,
Oh
Wait,
my
all
welcome.
God.
of my this sucks. This
Bye,
episode's food
Bagel
order
Gate.
Bagel.
sucks.
Yeah, bye, Bagel Boy.
Yeah.
Justice was relentless with the bagel story this
Twenty
season.
something.
So,
Literally 5 minutes into the game. 5 minutes into the game.
but
Yeah.
Noel, how does it feel having a traitor define your storyline? Like, she did not let you get off of that.
Yeah, I mean, like coming into it, I was nervous because since I was like a last minute addition to the cast, like I knew coming into it I was gonna be very like on my own, especially finding out that like how connected a lot of the other cast was. It was definitely interesting. So I'm kind of glad, but also not glad that that kind of defined my moment in the game. But it was fun regardless. So yeah.
So,
We gave Carson and Bill the opportunity to kind of like summarize the game from their perspective and getting the chance to watch it back. So do you want to take like a few minutes to do that?
Real quick before you do that, I'm sorry. I gotta go. I gotta head out. Y'all have a great time.
All
No,
right,
great
Carson,
seeing you
Carson.
congrats
again.
on
Bill,
everything,
Ava,
graduating,
Carlos,
big
Jeremy.
love
Y'all are
you.
real. Appreciate playing the game. Super fun as always. Sorry, Noel. You have the floor.
Yeah, so it was really interesting, and I'm really glad that I forgot like most of the game, um, so that I went into it like with like an open mind, I guess. So I do want to start out by saying like it is a lot harder being a faithful than it is being a traitor. I don't care what anyone says, it is. It's way more difficult. So you guys all being on our ass every single podcast is crazy because if you're in
it was
our
just the
shoes,
last one.
no, no. If you guys were in our shoes, then you
I've been in your
all how we
shoes
felt.
a
So
lot of times.
No, I
I would
agree.
also like to say I have said that multiple times on the podcast that I
good.
think it is harder to be a faithful than a
It
traitor.
is
So Team
way
Noel.
more difficult. So going into it as like a like looking at looking at it as like a viewer, it was very, you know, I felt for the faithfuls, even though like I was one, like I felt for them because it's really hard. Like as much as like, it's easy to say like, oh, like the faithfuls are like doing really bad, whatever. Yeah, we're doing bad because we don't know what's going on. Everyone else knows exactly what's going on, but as faithfuls, like we literally don't know. We have to go off of whatever. So it was really difficult. It was very difficult. So yeah.
So, kind of going off of that, I do want to ask you. So, in again, bringing up Bagelgate, I'm sorry, but you didn't really suss justice out at first for it. You even made it a point to say you're not going to be petty. You're going to vote for how you feel, which is a very smart thing to do, I think. But at the same time, were you not sussed by her strategy?
I no, I was. So at first I was like, okay, it is what it is. Like, so that's why I didn't vote for her initially because I was like, no, like it's probably just, you don't have anything to go off of. So like I can see where she was coming from at first, I guess. But then after like the second vote, I'm like, okay, now I have to start looking at you like a little weirdly and being like, oh, like I have to take that into consideration. And I did. And I did. But I'm not the type of person where I'm just gonna like just say it just to say it. So it was definitely in the back of my mind. And I'm more of a person where I like to, take my time and like really think about everything I'm gonna say before I just say it.
Hmm.
So definitely like it was in the back of my mind and she was on my suspect list. And I was right for thinking that. So yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. And
Clock it.
I wanted to ask both Bill and Noel this because I don't know if you remember, I believe it was the first episode, or maybe it was the second, but Keisha had actually name dropped both of you as people she knew prior to the game.
Yes.
And but she automatically said, she said, well, I don't care. I'll kill them because they can probably clock my strategy. Were you guys like, do you guys think you would have been able to do that?
Oh yeah. After like the way that Keisha went about like the Zendaya vote, I would have been like, oh, that's really weird. That's really, really weird because it was quite obvious that Carson was a traitor. So I would have definitely like took that into consideration and would have like definitely like sussed her out and like at least like interrogated her a little about it. Because it was really weird. So definitely something that I would have, brought up like in the
Mhm.
breakout room or whenever I got the chance to speak with her.
As much as I would like to say yes, I knew Keisha, but we never played together in games. We were
Mm.
always on opposing sides. Ava, you know what I'm talking about. We
I
played
said this. I said this the first episode. I said this the exact sentence the first episode.
we played
Continue.
3 or 4 games of strategic aspect, and we were always against each other. So while I knew Keisha, I truly didn't understand how they played, and it showed in the game. I trusted them. It was their birthday, and I was going into it like, who? Yeah, they're just happy. They're playing the game well. Then everyone likes them. They're playing under the radar, and I didn't think they were putting themselves out there in a way that made them look guilty in any way. So I think they fooled me like completely. I would have never guessed them. I only met them at Rob has a podcast live over the summer, and that's
Oh,
when I
that's
actually
right.
got to know them. So we would have never ever like bumped heads like that in this game. And I
I
was so
totally get
devastated because I wanted to be recruited, and they were like, "I'm not recruiting Bill. I know him." And I was like, "No, you don't. We don't know each other like that yet. Fuck. I wanted to be a traitor. I wanted to kill
Oh, yeah.
people."
I know you
It's
really wanted to be a trader too, so that must have been really frustrating.
That's really interesting because like from like all the strategic aspect games that I played with Keisha, I was working with her. So I feel like that's probably
Mm.
why I would have like
Your
that.
fault. You did this to me.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
Well,
sorry.
Noel, would you say that Keisha's strategy so far in this game has been pretty much what she does in other games?
Yeah, definitely. She definitely is like a quiet but ruthless player for sure.
Mm,
She is
yeah.
okay with cutting people off when she has to, but she comes off as like this like quiet, really like chill person, which is like a really dangerous quality to have in games. So yeah, definitely the way she's playing is the way I expected her to play.
Yeah, speaking about Keisha, I guess now that we've lost Carson and we see Keisha and Justice both take this roundtable very different, just in terms of the way that they were speaking, and we've kind of been seeing them play very differently. How do we see them playing together moving forward? Like, how do you
Do,
guys think they're going to fare? Because we know we have like a little under a few rounds left. So,
do
what do
they
we
get to
think?
recruit, or is it just the two of them? Or do we know that yet?
It's
Or
it's just it's just the two of them.
Yeah.
okay, that's interesting.
Um,
Hmm.
well, I wanted to mention too. I feel like Carson was their shield.
Oh yeah.
He was the loudmouth, and because he was always speaking up, it allowed for both Keisha and Justice room to say things, but anytime things were said, the eyes went to Carson just because of how much he overdid it. So now we'll see how they fare without the shield.
I mean, I think it's gonna be a little interesting, especially because I mean, from like at least the decisions that Justice has made, it does seem to come from more of an emotional point. Like with me, voting me, it was more of an emotional like sentiment than strategy, to be honest. And same thing even with like the Nick vote. Um, so it's definitely interesting, and even like and I'm basing that off of even like my own murder because I feel like I was someone that would have been able to like since I was like a recruit and I didn't really have a lot of connections, I was someone that like Justice should have reached out to me and like at least try to like build something even after like Bagelgate or whatever. Um like but she didn't. And so even like when like it came down to it being like me or Norris, 'cause that's where it seemed like it was going with the murder. She based it off of, Norris reaching out and like talking to her and then she just like kind of like set me aside just because of like Bagelgate, which she brought up. I didn't. So I definitely think I don't want to be like shady, but it does seem like Keisha will be doing a lot of like the decisions, at least moving forward, from at least from like my perspective. Because I'm also, this is the first time I'm seeing them and like everything since like I was murdered, because I didn't see what else happened after I was murdered. So from what I'm seeing, it seems like that Keisha will be making a lot of the decisions moving forward.
I do think that at least for justice, that killing you probably wasn't the best move because, you know, she's been the only one calling you out and trying to make you a target. So to me, they're like, okay, let's look at justice. She's the one that wants Noel out, and now he's out. She was the only one who wanted Noel out. Did
Yeah,
anyone else vote for you during the season? I don't think so. Oh, Carson did week
only
one.
Carson.
Yeah,
And that second round, he also did not vote for me because he reached out to me, like we talked.
right.
So it was definitely really, really interesting. Um, I don't know. Justice is such a different player than what I'm used to. So yeah, I definitely think that she should have used, like built a relationship with me and use that to her advantage, but she didn't. And hopefully it helps her, I guess. But I do think that killing me over Norris was not a great move, to be honest. Not that because I was Sons of Justice and Carson regardless, but because I would feel like I would have probably done the same thing Norris did and called it out. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but like I still think I think Norris would have been like the better kill, to be honest.
Okay.
To the
Well,
point.
I want to talk about last episode for a second because there was a part in the roundtable where you, Noel, were defending Carson. When people started to call Carson out, you made a comment. You said, "I'm the only one who should be sus of Carson, and I don't think that we should be sus of him." Why weren't you sus of Carson?
I wasn't just because, I mean, at least at the moment, I I like again, I wasn't connected at all, like with anyone. The only person that I had in my corner was Leak. And that's not really it was bad for me. So like I'm way closer with a lot of the cast now, but
Hmm.
in the moment I didn't know most of the cast. Like I'm really close with Alicia and Nick now. Um than at the moment because I just like met them. Um so Carson, reaching out to me and at least building that relationship, and willing to hear me out and like even like defended me during like the second vote. I was like, okay, like I for now, like I'm not sus of you. Like I get why you voted because there was nothing to go off of. And I do think in that moment, like at least his vote was more strategic than Justice's was because, she kept going on with, voting me while Carson didn't. So that's why I guess I was more sus of Justice in the moment, but I was going to call out Carson when he said like, the traitors chat thing. But in the moment, like before that I could, everyone was on Baylor. So I just wanted to give Baylor like the chance to like defend himself. But had I like survived the night, I would have called that out as well. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you were also on your murder interview. You said you were sus of Justice and Carson, which you've explained. Um, Nick, you said Jendaya and Nick. And it's interesting you said Jendaya. You did switch from Jendaya to Nick, but you said Jendaya at first, which is kind of interesting because it leads into not you saying it, but it leads into this big Jendaya suspicion at the end of the episode with Javen, which we'll talk about later. But why were you at least a little bit sus of Jendaya?
So from what I remember, like from what I was hearing, Zendaya was one of the only people that I did know in the cast. I wasn't close with Zendaya, but I at least knew who Zendaya was, and we played games before. So it was really interesting that I was hearing that she was like at least reaching out and like talking to other people and wasn't doing it with me. So yeah, it was interesting. And with Nick, I personally just couldn't read Nick at all. He wasn't giving me anything, and anytime he would speak, it was nothing. So it really didn't help me at all. I just like I was trying, like I was trying to talk when like I could, but
Hmm.
I was way too disconnected with this cast to like really do anything, which also I feel like played into a part why I didn't call out Carson when I did, because I didn't think that like I would have like a sway at that moment. So
Okay. Well, Bill and Noel, if you guys had to pick your, if you were a trader in this game and you had to pick two other traders to run this game with you, who would you have picked from this cast?
Bill, you can go first.
I think Keisha. I think specifically because going into it, I didn't know how they played, but I know they play well from what I've seen. But I just don't know the intricacies, and I would have preferred to have that with me because I know they look at things differently than I do, and I would love to have that as someone going with me so they could see the perspective that I don't. As opposed to that, probably someone who is more loud. Like I don't think I would have gone with Carson. I felt like that would have been too obvious of a pick personally. So I'm not too sure. I didn't know half the cast, so I couldn't really tell you names. Um, yeah, I'm not sure honestly. Besides that,
Not Noel?
Um,
No, I'm kidding.
please. I wouldn't have picked Bill either, so yeah.
Oh,
Well, yeah. You walk off. You
Then get
walk.
up and leave.
Walking off set.
just killed Bill for a second time.
Yeah.
Kill Bill.
Kill
Scream
Bill.
it.
Racism.
Nobody made a Kill Bill reference in this season. That's actually pretty
But
crazy.
that's absolutely wild. No, no,
I might kill my eyes.
no. But for me, I also would have picked Keisha just because, like, I agree with, I like picking people that you don't know, but I think it's also important to like at least have one person that you know and know how they work. And especially, at least for me, like I knew how Keisha played and I knew Keisha would be someone that wouldn't be sussed out right away or for like a long time into the game. So having someone like that on my team would be really beneficial. So I would have picked Keisha also. But for my other choice, I would have picked someone that was actually I would have also picked another quiet person. Someone that like, is quiet and doesn't really wouldn't really be sussed out. So I would have picked someone like Marissa, to be honest. I
Yeah,
would have
I was
picked,
gonna say, I think you and Marissa would have made a good duo as a trader. Uh,
yeah.
but okay. Interesting choices. Maybe we have to run the season back with the same cast and do it all over. We'll throw Ava into the mix.
Let Bill and I in that turret.
Right.
Well, yeah.
I
One
would have,
thing that I think I do just want to say this like really quickly is kind of like I'm only saying this because it's Bill and Noel on the podcast. I feel like the way Keisha is playing right now is so similar to how she played Legacy, where the first night in the pre-merge, she was like using it to build connections, and so many people trusted her. And that first vote in the merge, no, I know your ass remembers this. She immediately turned on me, and everyone caught on to it. So I'm like waiting for that breaking point where people lose that trust in her because I said it in the first episode of the podcast too. I feel like as soon as she finds herself in a position where she thinks she's gonna be like back against the wall, it's kind of when she allows it like shit to hit the fan. And I don't want to see it coming, but I kind of do. And I feel like right now we're in that like pre-merge Keisha where she's like doing really good at building relationships and da 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 da. But I can see that cutthroat coming out and it maybe not working.
well, speaking of strategic aspect, one, I think, Noel, you were the last minute replacement for Dominic. Did you know that?
I did know that.
Yeah, Dominic was supposed to be
No,
on the
that makes me
cast.
so sad. I
Yeah,
love Dom.
he overslept and didn't make it to the game. But we had Noel and we had Bagel Gate. So honestly, worth it.
A strategic aspect legend for a strategic aspect legend. Like,
Right.
period.
I
I
would
almost
have
overslept too,
loved,
didn't I? I missed the whole murder.
well, you were late, but I don't know if you missed the murder or not, but you made
I
it. You
did. I
made it.
wasn't here for the Carlos getting fucking
Oh,
obliterated.
yeah.
Rest in peace, man.
The Carlos murder. But I would have loved to see both Bill and Noel in this mission we had this episode. I don't know if you guys watched it, but the charades emojis was probably
That
one.
was so funny.
Yeah, it's probably one of my favorite missions that we've had in the season.
The real
Janae was
girls.
killing me. She said,
And and nobody was getting correct guesses. The worst the worst death that I saw was Keisha thinking that Leek was pregnant. I don't know if y'all like he was going like this, and Keisha put pregnant. I don't know why, but I thought that was hilarious.
No.
Just
I
rude.
was having a blast watching it.
But okay, so that was the mission. We saw Nick dominate that game and he got a shield. He's fighting for his life. He does not want to go, as they said, and as we see now, he's the last member of the cookout that is, white. Shout out to Nick, but he was a little worried about that, and or at least what they're saying. But we go to the breakout rooms after the mission, and we saw Carson trying to flip the call out that Baylor and Bill did. He was trying to throw the suspicion off of him. Didn't work out too well. Let's see. And they even tried, I guess when Baylor had called Nick and Carson out, Bill repeated the sentiment, but they were trying to flip it as though they weren't being called out for traitors, but for running the game. But immediately Zendaya called it out, was like, no, you were being called out for being traitors. Then we see Nick and Justice fight. So yeah, we're getting to more of the general episode right now. But so we see Nick and Justice begin to fight. Justice calls Nick out for voting for her and saying that he was going too hard in the challenge for the shield. I feel like that argument now is a little dead compared to, we saw the same argument for Danny in the first round table. Do you guys, Carlos, I'll ask you this, or Charlie, I'll ask you this. Do you think Justice was smart for trying to say Nick was doing too well in competitions, and that should be a reason to target him?
At this point in the game, yeah, I feel like it was a bad read. It's final, what they were at final eight at the round table. Like, it's getting down to the nitty gritty. You need those shields to be safe. But what I think that Justice did wrong was trying to make him a threat because he was a physical threat. She should have tried to make him a threat for being a social threat. And I feel like that was where she went wrong.
Mm-hmm. I do agree with that. Um, and then towards the end of the breakout rooms, we saw Javen going to Leek and Marissa and saying, like, I really trust you two to be faithfuls. Like, I want to figure this out and figure it out together. So, do you think we see a trio forming there? Could those faithfuls band together and they didn't do it in this round table, clearly, but maybe since they're all three still in the game, that they could work together for that. But let's talk about the round table. Let's get to it. It was a long round table. Norris starts it off and immediately calls out Carson. He brings up the traders chat, but he says the ultimate argument is that Carson is the loudest in the room, and being the loudest in the room is a great way to hide in plain sight. He's always redirecting the votes and the suspicions, and he was a big reason that a bunch of faithfuls went home. And Norris made it a point to say, like, you were the one putting the target on the faithfuls. So how can you be a faithful if your argument is that the faithful should go home? How do we feel about Norris's performance? I think Norris did great this episode.
Yeah, North did great. Yeah, absolutely great. He is handling and all the calls that he made and all his reasonings have been spot on. So I'm really, really glad that the faithfuls have a Norris um in the group. Again, should have been killed to benefit the traders, but that's just me. But yeah, I'm really glad that Norris, that they have Norris because Norris is actually so smart, and I'm so glad. I'm so glad that there's some faith left for the faithful. So yeah.
Well, Norris, I'm sorry, Noel, I'm gonna ask you this because I just saw a comment on the show, and Ray from JSR OC1, He says Noel would have never led a charge like Norris did.
Well, Ray doesn't know me.
Ooh.
I would have exactly like well, probably not exactly, but honestly, for the most part, I would have done the same thing Norris did, to be honest. Just because Norris, vocalizes his thoughts more than me does not mean I I'm not like paying attention and reading the room. Um, I talk when I can, and when I don't have to, I don't. So, and especially coming off of like an argument with Justice, I felt like going into that next round, I had to be quiet.
Uh-huh.
Um, because, I didn't want Faithful to think um that I was more defensive because even Norris was suspicious of me for being defensive. So I felt like I was being defensive when I didn't need to. So I went into it being quiet. And I did take notes during game and I was ready to also do some call outs. So um I
Well,
would really love if, when people, have their opinions, at least have some facts and like behind it. So
well,
just
speaking as someone who has played a Trader's game with you recently, we were both faithfuls. We won. But you definitely had your share of call outs. So I definitely think that, given the opportunity, had you had your information loaded and ready, you had your suspicions ready, you definitely would have.
yeah.
But kind of speaking on people not being able to really read you or know you. Before you joined the call, we were discussing Bill's diary room over calling you the boogeyman and how he can't read you. So Noel, what was your reaction to being called the boogeyman?
Crazy, crazy on it. And then on top of that, you told me to shut up. Bill,
I said
Bill,
you were reacting to the boogeyman. I didn't call you the
Oh,
boogeyman.
okay.
a nasty, sick individual.
It's not
No,
this.
I mean, even, since you brought up that Traders game that we won, you know, I am hard to read. As much as like whatever, I am hard to read. And that's an asset to my game. People can't read me, and that's exactly what I want. It helped me in that Traders game, and it should have helped me in this one. But almost all the decisions are made, and I have to respect it. So yeah, just because just because I'm not always speaking does not mean I'm not thinking. So
Oof.
Ooh. Well,
Let him know, Noel. Let him know.
mm,
that's what I was telling everyone too before you joined. I said we almost were considering voting you out in that last Traders game because we couldn't read you towards the end. But luckily we didn't.
yeah, Josie, you're on my list. That was
Oh, not Josie girl.
Josie was on you.
yeah, and you want to know why? Because we're going like, oh, that's Noel's lying face. Like I know when he's lying. I was
Mm,
like that whole time too.
Ooh,
Can't read me. Can't read
spill it.
me. I'm okay with that.
okay. I I agree with that. But let's talk about really the most dramatic part of this episode, which you would think would be getting the traitor out. You would think the call out on the traitor would be the most dramatic part of the episode. But no, no. We see Zendaya and Javen going at it. Javen was so dead set thinking he caught the traitor. He thought that Zendaya was the quiet, sneaky traitor, and we see him call him out. She rebuts it. First of all, you guys kind of explain your suspicions on Zendaya. Do we agree, before we get to the other things he said, do we agree with the initial read he had on Zendaya that she was being too quiet? Right.
Not really.
To an extent.
Um,
Maybe it's
I
just because I didn't know them that I just didn't pick up on it or retain it as much. Sorry, I totally cut you off. That's on me, my bad.
no, go ahead.
That's all I had.
I was talking a lot more than you have, so please. No, I kind of, I disagree a little. I felt like the way that Zendaya plays is quiet at first until something happens where she feels like she needs to talk. Because I do that sometimes in games. So I recognize that, and I personally didn't think Janaea. Well, I did think of for a little bit. I was suspicious of her, but the way that this went around, like about had I been there, I would have not have sussed Janaea by that point. Because like after like considering the way that she has played in other games, it was pretty like similar to how she's playing in this one. So I probably would have told Javen like I love the enthusiasm, but you're wrong. So yeah,
That's what you told Justice. You're wrong.
yeah, I was right.
So let's talk about after that, Jaden.
Okay, Bill.
Hey, you want I'll do a shot with you.
Right, like where was the shot
Oh,
for shot offer?
it's a
Talking
Uh,
drinking
about.
pod.
Drunk pod.
can we drink on the podcast?
But
Yeah, we drank last week.
oh, we did drink last week. Yeah. I was
Yeah, first of all, Mr. Corona bottle during traders, please.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, they were Modelo's. They were Modelo's. Wait, were they? No, they were Corona. Wait, I don't remember.
no, they were definitely Modelo's.
Corona.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so but then we see Javen say that he agrees that Carson is a traitor, but let's not vote him out. He said, let's keep the obvious traitor in the game and vote out someone who might not be a traitor. You guys are shaking your heads, covering your mouths. Like, what do we think about that strategy in the final nine of the game, final 10,
A
final nine?
third a third of the cast are bad guys. If you can't organize the remaining six, which you clearly can't unless it's Carson, you're gonna have like really struggle picking out the other two stragglers. As like you get Carson right out of the way, then you can start focusing on everyone else and not have Carson in your face leading conversations and just taking over the game. And then you have to force the other people to speak up in his place. So keeping Carson around at the final nine is awful, truly awful. Because if they can successfully split that vote, they can easily take numbers advantage and just win the game, no questions asked.
I mean, yeah, I agree with that 100%. Jeremy, I feel like you know this, wooden blocks are dangerous. Um, and keeping Carson around is a horrible idea. So that was, you know, again, Javen, I love the enthusiasm. I love it. I love it. I love it dearly, and I love you dearly. But no, that was not the right decision. Um, it was not. So I'm glad it didn't go that way. But um, yeah, not good.
I think it's a viable strategy in the first half of the game, but not in the second half. Because I don't think Javen was considering that, okay, we keep Carson on the off chance that Jendea was a traitor. Okay, now you're in final eight. The three are about to kill you and make final seven. And then you have one last chance before voting block can happen. So it doesn't make sense, Javen. I'm sorry, all love and respect, but it does not make sense. You got to go and Norris did it best. He said, raise your hand if you think Carson is a traitor. Almost everybody raised their hand, and then he goes, so what are we doing? And that's literally like I think what any viewer would think when they're watching what Javen is saying. What the hell are you doing? Why wouldn't you just vote out the traitor if you know you have a traitor right here? But I think Javen was just considering only that Carson would protect them, which it makes sense only if you know who the other traders are. I feel like you can't rely on one trader in a group of three traders in a group of the final seven to keep you alive.
Yeah, I agree. I do.
And
Mhm.
that's also really banking on the fact that traders might turn on each other, which is
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say it'd be a good move if Carson was throwing another trader under the bus, but he wasn't. Like he wasn't throwing an obvious trader under the bus, so there was nobody that Javen could have the opportunity to like make a move against. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, we saw that Javen back and forth with Jendaya. Jendaya let Javen know that he was being very illogical, despite Javen thinking he was being logical. But throughout this episode, or throughout this roundtable and post roundtable too, we saw two different arguments kind of going on. We saw again Nick and Justice. Nick was calling Justice out for revenge voting, which is kind of in line with not even revenge for Noel, but just the emotional voting that we keep seeing again and again by Justice. So now Nick is very suspicious of Justice, and I think other people are catching on. But then I think unexpected thing we saw maybe was Jendaya figuring out Keisha, because now Jendaya is calling out Keisha and realizing that Keisha was very reluctant to vote for Carson. She was jumping on this Jendaya vote, saying that Keisha was calling out behavioral patterns and going. I think Keisha said, I didn't listen to Javen last time, so now I'm going to listen to Javen. But like, I don't know. I think Keisha really kind of made herself a little obvious there. Do you guys think so? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Very very sloppy move there for Keisha. I was surprised to be honest because by that point it was almost like very apparent like where the votes were going.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm really shocked that Keisha did that to be honest. I was not expecting her to do that.
Yeah. Since it's at the end of the episode, I'm interesting to see how both of them fare after people start to realize they were one of four people, five people that didn't vote for Carson. So, like, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
Like, can they get by with it? Like, can they get away with it? Let's find out.
I'm not sure because props to Zendaya to like calling Keisha out. Like I think it was good. Not a lot of people are calling Keisha out. So I'm glad Zendaya, sees it. So yeah.
Well, I think towards, did anybody else have anything to say before I move on? So towards this end of the episode, kind of we see, I feel like each trader kind of has somebody who's riding for them. Like we see Javen's riding for Keisha, Jendaya's riding for Justice. I think we can maybe count Norris riding for Justice. He doesn't really explicitly say it, but I think he was starting to even get sus of her a little bit. We saw Javen saying he sus of Justice for defending Jendaya. So it's like they have the riders, and then the riders that they have are going after the other traitor. So it's like this weird thing, but I almost think that's like a perfect strategy because now you split the votes.
Yeah.
You split where everyone's looking at, and it's easier for you to be able to get on by from that. So I'm kind of impressed by that. I'm not sure how intentional it was because I think like we said multiple times, the faithfuls are kind of playing for the traders at least up until this point. They did catch a trader now, and now the tides can turn. They're sus of the traders, but at the same time, it's just like things as bad as things go for the traders, at the same time, everything just goes right for them. So it'd be interesting to see how it actually ends. Um, but that's pretty much it. I don't know if anyone has any more general lasting thoughts. We've pretty much covered all of the episode. We see a lot of eyes on Jaden, a lot of eyes on Jendaya. We see some eyes on Justice and Keisha. So we'll see how it plays out in the next episode. But thank you guys for joining us. It was a little disorganized podcast tonight. It's not usually as good as we've had them before, but we appreciate your time. I think it was a
Yes.
fun time.
Thank you, guys.
Wait, where is Momily? Where is she?
Yeah,
I came here for Momily.
she has a midterm tomorrow, so we respect her studying grind.
We love a studious icon. We do.
I actually have two more fun questions, one for both of you. So I'll start off with Bill. Bill,
My name.
we saw you drinking blood at one point.
Oh,
And
blood.
yeah.
Yes.
What was that?
What are you talking about?
You were drinking fake blood when we did a cheers, and Norris asked you about it. You have
Oh.
fake blood just on you?
I. Oh, it's opening. Hold on.
Oh, there goes the blood.
I do.
Yep,
Oh.
that's the one. That's the one.
Forgot
Wow.
about this. It was
So do you drink
$8.
that?
Is it open? What are you- I think it stained a bunch of shit last time I opened it. It like stained my skin for like 5 days. So I kind of.
Is it edible?
Yeah. Huh?
Is it edible?
I guess.
You drank it.
I mean, that's what I did get poisoned.
That's true. That's the poison.
Whoa, wait. Fuck it.
Foreshadowing. Okay, and
Should've
Noel,
known by that point.
my question for you, Noel. What kind of bagel was it?
Oh my gosh. Like,
It was a sesame bagel.
was it a serious bagel? Like, I really wish I could say, yeah, it's everything with avocado, some smoked salmon, all that. No, no. It was a plain bagel with some cream cheese and scrambled eggs on the side.
Not bad.
And
That's
that's like, call me a liar, I guess.
That's good.
I thought it was a great breakfast. I just don't remember. So,
I love a good bagel and cream cheese.
it was great and it was toasted and everything. Oof. And it was like the whipped cream cheese too. Oh,
Mm.
yeah. Oh, I was going to town on that bagel.
if you and Justice ever somehow meet in person, you guys need to have a bagel together.
Oh,
Yes.
no, we have to take pictures with holding the same bagel. We have to share, we have to split a bagel, eat it together.
Yes.
For sure, definitely. I'm 100% down to do that. Who knows? Maybe I haven't eaten a bagel since that day. Like, honestly.
Oh, it's traumatic.
Yeah, it's a scarring moment. Bagel game.
It really like got to me and it just, it's taken over my life and I need to overcome my fears in the near future, hopefully. So
Anytime you eat a bagel, you'll be faced with the
I
fact that you
was
were
like,
called a liar for eating a bagel.
heart shaking and I'm like, oh my gosh, like no, I'll just get an omelet because I can't do that. Like
That's funny.
it's too much. It's too much.
So, Bill, did you find something on the bottle?
It's in all caps, actually. It says
Oh.
this is not a food product. Do not consume.
Well,
That's why you were poisoned.
Poison.
Carson, I'm sorry.
You
Actually, no.
blamed
Carson
it on
double
Carson.
poisoned me. The bitch. This is the actual cause of it, though.
I honestly don't remember most of like I don't remember who wins, to be honest. I don't remember.
Well, you'll
I'm
find out in 2 episodes.
2 episodes, 1 week.
Okay,
1
I'm
week.
glad. I'm very glad that because the last episode is on Tuesday,
Tuesday.
It's on a Tuesday. Yes.
right? Okay, good. Because I'll be back home, so I'll be able to like watch it live. So yeah. I was thinking about that. I was like, oh my gosh, like I wanna watch. And hopefully there's a reunion. Like, have you decided? Is there a reunion or not?
We'll see. If anything, it'll be some I think an informal reunion. Maybe just I don't know. I feel like everyone who's come on the podcast has aired out everything they've had to say, so it'll be a little tough to kind of rehash what everyone has already said. Oh, Bill?
Should invite Dominic in
Mm,
and ask for his opinion and what he would have done at every turn. We should film skits and make it seem like he was there the whole time.
right. Add Dominic into that whole edit.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he'll get a call for season 2. Who knows?
Has it been renewed? Has production decided?
The ratings aren't in yet, We're seeing
I did get murdered, so you know,
yeah,
You
Yeah,
can't
if you both went
return.
out the same episode, there might be a steep decline, honestly.
yeah.
there might be,
This might be the end. This might have been the finale for some people.
yeah.
I'll
Stay
drink to
tuned
that.
out.
All right, cheers to that. We'll see you
Thanks,
guys
guys.
at the finale reunion, but thank you for joining us, and that's the end.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Have a good night, everybody.
No,
Yes.
no.